and welcome to Nug Life Podcast. I am your host, Dan Wetstein, with my co-host, Santiago Salazar.
What's up, man?
It sounded like one of the, when I brought you in, I don't know if anybody else heard that, but it sounded like those old westerns, like,
You know why? It's because I got some college football playing in the background. Let me turn that down real quick.
Gotcha. Okay. I just brought him in on a Western note. Like, we got a spaghetti Western going on here. That was great.
I've been watching all the bowl games.
Oh, you're good, brother. You're good. I was watching some earlier today. I actually just shut it off before I hopped on you, so I get it.
Yeah, I didn't.
We are here to talk about your Denver Nuggets. We're going to go ahead and jump on into it since we already had that awkward intro. The Nuggets sweep the Rockets in their home back-to-back this week. Did exactly what we wanted to and actually impressed me even more than I wanted them to with back-to-back double-digit wins. But the biggest question I think is on every fan's mind is the dynamic duo back? Are Joker and Blue Arrow back to peak performance?
Man, it's in the right direction. That's the best version of Jamal Murray we've seen, bro. Like, just to see him be putting a performance on like that post injury, it's kind of what we talked about last week with Kawhi and Jamal both having a similar injury. You can come back because of his age, and you can come back to the type of player he was before, and it just shows that he's on that track, he's on that level, and the fact that Jokic, it didn't affect Jokic's game of him not having as many points because they both matched 32-31. And Jokic had, the most out of the two. So just to see them both doing it on the same night just shows you that this Nuggets team from a year or two ago that was, arguably without, not having the bad injury bug, could be representing the Western Conference is back.
Yes. I have two numbers for you. 607. That's the amount of days since we've seen Jamal Murray score 30 points. The second number, 618. That's the number of days it's been since we've seen Joker and Murray score 30 points on the same night. That is an insane amount of time to think about, but that is how long it's been since we have seen Joker and Blue Arrow have the ultimate two-man game. And I said it then, I'm going to say it now because after watching what they did on the first game with the Rockets, I am convinced that Murray has finally got his legs underneath him. That duo is absolutely back, and they have the deadliest two-man game in the NBA, and I don't really think it's close.
And you saying it like that, so I'll give you some other names. Better than Tatum and Brown? Is it better than Tatum and Brown? Oh, man.
At their best, yes.
At their best, yeah. But on a nightly basis, I think that's where we're kind of not there yet. Now, at their best, anyone going neck and neck with a pound for pound, that's the best duo completely.
Yeah, that's what I mean, pound for pound. Yeah, if you're talking about on a nightly basis at this moment right now, no. But if you talk about 618 days ago and you talk about maybe 2 months in the future, yes, definitely the best two-man game in the league.
You got to make me look at some duos now, man. Davis and James, I mean, Lakers are the Lakers. They suck, but they've been a little bit better than what they've, have been.
But
something in me.
ISO. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking about the two-man game, the way that they are able to dice up defenses by the way they're both able to pass, both able to shoot, both able to work in the paint, work around defenders, ISO, all of those things. I just don't see any other duo that is as capable, as efficient, and as versatile as these two.
Who would you put as Steph's matchmaker? Who's his second half of that duo with Steph? Because Clay's fallen off, so I want to say you have a Steph and Clay. I mean, you always will, legacy-wise, but right now in current NBA, that's not the duo for that team. I wouldn't put it Draymond and Steph because Draymond
don't score.
Yeah, all he does is pass. I guess he helps out.
Steph and Poole when they're but they're not on the floor together all the time. So it's why it's like I really don't think Steph has a duo partner at this point.
Right
like he's got a bunch of guys around him, and some that are really, really good. Like I don't want to just like try and make it sound like he's got a bunch of Jags around, just a bunch of guys.
No, I mean
he's got Poole, Wiggins, all those guys are legit, but I still don't think that you can take any combo from that team, and I don't think they match up with Joker and Murray.
You know what's so, and I agree with that at their best, at least. You know what's crazy though is with the Warriors, Steph has stayed the same, but Klay Thompson has regressed, Draymond Green has regressed, and the Warriors, they just find ways to fill those spots. And you go and get Andrew Wiggins, who people gave up on, and now he's pretty much the new Klay Thompson, that second scoring option, and he's way more versatile than Klay, and he doesn't hit the ball the same way. But what the Warriors have done is just amazing, and for them to not even have a real true duo, it's something that's beyond my mind. My bad. I'm going off track.
No,
I'm going everywhere.
You're good. Yeah, they are much more of the sum of their parts. Like they're not just one guy. I mean, well, they actually do have one guy that is a superstar, but it really kind of gets passed around, like you said, on a nightly basis. And to me, those are the best teams. Those are the teams that you got to worry about. That's one of the things I love about this Denver team. As we're talking about depth, who was the most impressive bench player in these two games for you? For the Nuggets.
I just think the most impressive thing, it's going to be Bones, that'll be mine, but the most impressive thing I think about the bench is you got two guys
Bones
who
didn't
are
play against
last night. He played. No, he didn't play
last night. We're talking about the Rockets, though.
Oh,
He didn't
okay.
play against the Rockets. Who was the most impressive bench player against the Rockets for the Nuggets? I should have been more specific.
I would give a little, and this has nothing to do with numbers, but a lot of praise to DeAndre Jordan, because he was defensively. Now this is, he's not the young DeAndre Jordan where he could protect the rim on a nightly basis, but defensively he controlled the game where the game didn't get too out of hand, even though he lacks an offensive game. The Nuggets were playing real aggressive basketball with Jokic off the floor, and DeAndre Jordan put up, good minutes. I mean, yes, they're playing the Rockets, who aren't, the sexiest team by any means, but can I say that word? Is that?
Yeah, that's a good.
Am I going to get in trouble?
No trouble there.
No, but they're not the, a crazy competitive team. But as we said last week, you got to show these guys respect, and they're still an NBA team. And the Rockets had opportunities to go on runs, and there were times where it looked like they would break one out, but that great Nuggets second unit, and I think led by DeAndre Jordan, there wasn't a lot of too much scoring from these guys, just a lot of making up time, if you would per se.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're 100% correct, especially in the second half of these games where it was really a blowout and the bench was really taking over the majority of the minutes. In the first game, the starters for the Nuggets did not see any time past the third quarter. In the second game, they were taken out in the third quarter, but had to come back in late in the fourth quarter to make sure that they secured that win. And Ish Smith, to all his credit, apologized to the starters for letting them come back in. But in the first game, DeAndre Jordan, again, he didn't score that many points. He only had 8, but he did end up with 10 rebounds. So as much as he might be getting up in age, as much as he might be, not able to protect the rim in the way that he used to, the man still gets the job done in the paint. And his rebounding is probably one of the best on the bench. Him and Ish Smith, whenever Bruce Brown's starting,
bro,
has he not been impressive?
10, 8, and 5.
How impressive has he been, bro?
For a guy who's my height, I'm always going to clown on it because guys my height, they don't belong in the NBA. We're still small. And then, to see guys who are actually in the NBA, props to them because they beat that, they show that stereotype is not true. So, much love for Ish Smith and what he's doing. But 10 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds, or is it the other way around? 5 assists, 8 rebounds. I don't fully remember. But for him to get a stat line, you got to have a stat line like that. Regardless, that is just, boss moves. Again, it is against the Rockets, but I'm not giving credit where credit's due. I gave all the backup big man credit to DeAndre Jordan, but Zeke Naji went off for 15 points, which was a nice thing to see, him spreading the floor, and another big that can actually score the ball on all 3 levels.
Yes. Yeah, it's what Ish Smith is doing is injecting life into a bench that in a way that we only thought Bones could. Everybody expected that whenever Bones went out that they would not, that there was no spark. Ish is an absolute annoyance for offenses when he's playing defense. It was quite funny, like that series where Ish Smith got the steal, did they had the fast break, and he ended up giving it up to Bruce Brown over the top. I was going nuts. The wife comes in. She's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "This kid, Ish Smith. I don't know. I was expecting him just to be another guy, and he's out here doing insane things." I was like, he's so small, but he's kind of lanky. He just gets in the way, and it was that moment he just reaches out and swats the ball away for another deflection. I'm like, this is insane. It was like all within a matter of like a minute and a half of game time. All of that transpired, and it's just like, where did that come from? Like, how did I not know who Ish Smith was, like, beyond what his name is when he was with the Wizards? Like, what was he doing there? How was he held to be such a little quiet X factor? Like, he had to be one. You can't tell me that was just something that happened when he came to the Nuggets. That had to be there when he was with the Wizards, and for him to be a third stringer on that team. Like, I get why he's a third stringer here behind Jamal Murray, Bones. Well, actually, technically fourth if you put Bruce Brown in at point guard, but still, like, the energy he brings is insane for a guy that doesn't get many minutes. I want to see more Ish. I want to see more Ish with Bones like we did on Friday. I thought that was exciting. So, yeah, Ish Smith for me was the guy that really stood out in these games. It was just constant with him. It was the announcers were even like, dude, I've never said a guy's name so much within this short period of time where you got to say his name like 5 times every play because the dude was doing something. And it injects something to the rest of the roster. Like, you see guys cutting more. You see more energy when they cut. You see more energy when they're dunking. You see Vlaco going off from the free throw line. Like, it's insane what happens when this man's on the floor.
Shoot. Ish Smith is a 13th NBA team. That's why, man, I'm just like, shoot, like,
how?
That's
how
crazy.
Do you not keep this guy around? Like, he's that glue guy. It just feels like he's that glue guy.
Well, you look at the franchises he's played for; they're not championship franchises. The Nuggets are probably the first team he's really ever played for that was actually, a really good team. Now look at some of these teams: Rockets, Grizzlies, Warriors, Magic, Bucks, Suns, Thunder, Sixers, Pelicans, Pistons, Wizards, Hornets, Nuggets. Like, that's insane. That's like half the league right there. But he was on the Warriors team before Curry and Clay were, had the Splash Brothers. He was with the Magic, who've always been terrible. With Milwaukee before Giannis was Giannis. The Suns, who've been terrible before these last couple of years. The Thunder, when they still had KD and Russ, so I guess that was the time he was on a good team. Sixers in the process mode. Pelicans and the Pistons the last couple of years. Wizards last couple of years. Charlotte. Those are all teams that have, been rebuilding since he's been there. So he hasn't been on a winning team. And for him to go on a winning team.
Shipped off right before they get good. Like, looking at the years that he was with these places, like, every year was like the year after was when they got their superstar and he was shipped off or he walked away in free agency. But again, the way he plays, like, how have I not known that this is how the man plays? Like, the way he jumps off the board is insane when he's out there. So for it to take me by surprise is what got me. Is like, he plays like this, but nobody talked about it. Like, even when the trade was made for KCP, everybody talked about him as a throw-in. Like,
he was a footnote. He's just a footnote. Yeah.
Just like Bruce Brown was, it was a good signing.
Yeah.
Those two guys might be the most underrated moves of the offseason so far, between the way Bruce Brown plays and the way we've seen Ish play the last couple of games after coming back from that calf strain. Man, when this team is fully healthy, the depth here is absolutely insane. They got 4 point guards that can start in the NBA with the way that they play. It's insane to think about that.
The narrative always is before we move on, being drafted in the right situation, or in Ish Smith's case, being undrafted in the right situation. And, you couldn't convince me or tell me anything different that this guy would have been a long-term piece if he played for a guy like Greg Popovich. You see all the teams he played for, they were teams that were rebuilding that didn't really have any structure. So they were willing to get rid of veteran type pieces, not realizing or investing or developing in them. So it kind of shows you that, how if put in the right position, guys like this, you can get a Tony Parker out of Ish Smith. if you honestly want to be truthful.
I like that
if
comp.
if he was put in, Tony Parker's position, would we be talking about a guy who's a lock for a team right now, on a long-term contract, or are we talking about a guy who's, pretty much year to year? And that's the difference between which route he was, given.
Yeah, I agree. And since we're on the trade of KCP, the man had 13 points total, not in one game, in both games against the Rockets, where the Nuggets scored 120 plus, and he got the least minutes of any starters. Should we be reading in? Well, especially me, because I've really been the one pushing this narrative. To be clear, should we be reading anything into this as far as maybe Malone starting to see what we see with Bruce?
It's been the best basketball without MPJ in the lineup and finding a recipe for a good starting five when he's played KCP and Bruce Brown in these last couple of games. Yeah, KCP has, still having his bad early season woes, but he's been playing much better basketball, playing much better defensively when he's playing with another lockdown defender with Bruce Brown at the same time with him. Yes, Bruce Brown's getting more minutes than KCP, but it's because, it's a what have you done for me lately kind of business, as is every sport. And, Bruce Brown's been playing the best lately.
Yeah. The what I mostly read into this is something I was hoping to see, and it is that money and paychecks are not going to dictate time on the court. That is where things get sticky when it comes to teams that have depth and are good, is where people start getting into their egos and like, hey, I get the bigger paycheck. Why is he starting over me? It's starting to look like this team has gelled to a way that they could put KCP on the bench, and I don't think he'd take offense to it. Like, that's the thing I like to see. I like to see that KCP had no ill will. When he was off the court, he was as lively and active as anybody else on the bench, getting up and getting excited, especially whenever DeAndre Jordan would get a dunk. I think that's one of his favorite things in the world. I don't think anybody celebrates a DeAndre Jordan dunk quite the way that KCP does.
They were teammates with the Lakers. They were teammates with the Lakers for like a very seldom, I don't know how long, maybe a year. I don't know. What year was it DeAndre was playing in LA? Is it a year ago or 2 years ago?
It's something. I'll look it up real quick.
Bounced around.
Yeah, he has the last couple of years after he left the Clippers.
No, but great point with that. KCP's paid. He got what he wanted, and he's 2 years ago. He's paid though, KCP, and he's gotten what he's wanted. He's playing on a contending team, so I don't. If he was playing for a bad team, it probably would be a little more of a sour taste in his mouth. But when you're getting good money, you play for a good team, you got a good life. Sounds like a good recipe.
Yeah, same here. If he's still on the Wizards, there's probably some animosity if he gets put on the bench. But with this team, I mean, how can you argue? Like, how do you go to the coach and be like, nah, I'm better, when literally every number says that Bruce Brown is better? The only thing that they're even equal on is points. And they're dead equal. Like, they've scored the exact same amount of points, down to the decimal. Like, it's insane how identical they are when it comes to scoring. But the thing is, the differentiation is Bruce doesn't need another top-notch defender to play top-notch defense. That's the things that I love about Bruce, is he is a self-starter. He doesn't need anybody or anything else to get his engine running. He wakes up and chooses violence every single morning. That man is always ready to do anything and everything on a basketball court to help his team win. He does not care. There is no prima donna in him. He has had that worked out of him very early in his career, playing with some of the duos that he's already played with. So he knows how to work with a duo like this, a lot of the way that KCP does, but he's just much more efficient and he's much more versatile than KCP. KCP is pretty much one position. That's what he does. The 3-and-D wing. Excuse me, Brown, you can essentially put him 1 through 4. And technically 5. I mean, yes, he's really, really tiny to be a 5, but he's got enough of that dog in him. He'd still go out there with them 7-footers and compete. Like, I have no doubt that he would compete. Like, obviously, against somebody like Joel Embiid or somebody like that, yeah, he's going to get worked. But again, the man's going to go out there and he's going to give you everything he got from the opening tip-off until the final whistle is blown. The man just does not know how to quit.
Well, it just shows you his work ethic.
Yes.
You remember Andre Roberson from the OKC Thunder? He couldn't make a free throw. He actually played for CU. Couldn't make a free throw. He was just on the floor to lock up, And they were so mad at him, though, because, yeah, he's there locking people up. But when they send him to the free throw line, he plays the shooting guard position. At the shooting guard position, you're supposed to know how to shoot. And maybe you don't need to shoot a 3 or perimeter shot, but shoot a freaking free throw, bro. You can't be averaging 42% from the free throw line. And that's who Bruce Brown was before his hard work and his development these last couple of years. He was just another Andre Roberson, a guy who would just be on the floor. You think KCP pissing you off with all this, lackluster defense. I would rather have lackluster defense than a guy who can lock up and not shoot, go 0 for 10 from the free throw line and not even get us a bucket. And everyone's just fouling him on purpose because they know he's a liability more than an asset. And Bruce Brown to turn himself into more of a player that is an asset, and the Nuggets being able to take advantage and bring him in when people didn't see much about him. I was just reading an article where Bruce Brown tested free agency this past summer, and he felt a little disrespected because he wasn't getting offers, and he knew what he was capable of, and he showed it within the Nets series. Even though they got swept or lost in 5, I think they got swept. He still had some good performances even towards the end of the year. And for him to get disrespected and not a lot of people joining the offering sheet, he's out to prove something. And this is not even the best of Bruce Brown we're yet to see.
Oh, yeah. There was many a pundit that said he was the MVP of that series. And I really don't think there's much of an argument to be had there. So we're not going to argue it. We're going to move on from the nicer things to the less so nice things. Yeah, we got to watch the Nuggets go out there and absolutely mollywop the Rockets for 2 nights in a row. But then came out and kind of pulled a reverse Nuggets. The Hawks were without 3 of their top 4 scorers on Friday night. Yet the Nuggets went out and took an L. Was this more about the Hawks winning or Denver losing?
It depends on how you look at it. We can't recognize this kind of a commentary right here when you hear about a team missing their, top scorers. The Nuggets have went out there and they've showed what kind of team they are without their top scorers, and they went out and overachieved and beaten teams. And this, in this case, it was the Atlanta Hawks doing it to the Nuggets. Sometimes you get a taste of your own medicine, and it just shows what type of team the Hawks are. They're a real good team. They were a playoff team a year ago. They're still, that's what separates the good teams to the, you one-year wonders. The good teams without their best players can still get the job done and still get the assignment finished. Those one-year wonder teams, they just look like bad teams without the players they depend on the most. And the Hawks are 13-10. They're one of the upper echelons in the Eastern Conference so far in the season. Now, if you look at it in the point of view of the Nuggets, yeah, you kick the living crap out of Houston and you want to go and do the job in Atlanta, but you have been exceeding expectation on the road more than any team in the NBA. Everyone knows the road in the NBA is tough, hostile environment, probably more than, some other sports. I don't know about hockey. Hockey's they go nuts for that. But
yeah. That's a pretty good comparison. Yeah, they're both very, very personal. The fans are
just because they're up close. The NFL, yeah, you can see players getting mad at fans, but you're not up close. Like, you don't know what exactly the fans
20
are
yards
saying,
between the sidelines and the stands. Yeah, exactly.
So to be playing that in an intense, hostile environment, like I said, and to be 8-5, 8-6 so far in the season, you're gonna have nights where you are in Atlanta and it just doesn't go your way. So don't feel bad if you're a Nuggets fan because they still have an above 500 record on the road.
Yeah, they still have the best record on the road in the NBA, as well as the best winning percentage at home after winning 2. So this team is a team that can literally win anywhere. And that is what separates the good from the great. This is what separates like you said, the 1-year wonders from the consistent contenders. It's the teams that can win no matter what their environment is, whether it's home, road, neutral. It doesn't matter because the venue does not change the talent. That is the biggest hurdle so many players have to get over, is that where you play does not dictate your talent level. Once players figure that out, that's when you get to the greatness. That's when you get to the guys that are consistently good to great, is the ones that realize that the playing surface does not dictate their talent level, that their talent level travels no matter where they go, how they travel, or when they get there, that the talent will always be there as long as they are willing to unlock it. So back to your point of also the 1-year wonders and consistent contenders, I think last year proved what type of team this Nuggets team was. Yes, they didn't go to the NBA Finals, but without two of their biggest stars, the other star was able to carry them all the way to the playoffs and give some work to the eventual NBA champions. So that being said, everything's together. We got the duo together now. Hopefully the trio will be coming together very soon. Michael Porter Jr.'s issue is a heel that he is dealing with, and thankfully it's not the Achilles. So he's going to be out for a little while, but we will get him back eventually. Hopefully the trio comes back and stays together, but at the very least, the duo is here. It didn't do anything against the Hawks, even though they got Bones back as well. That was the big boon that everybody thought would be the key to them winning this game, especially after the fact that they know how this works, that you have to respect these guys because they are an NBA team. They just got disrespected in Dallas and won a game because of it. They just got the comeuppance. That is just the karma. The come around, what goes around comes around. This is them. It was just a bad game. Great teams have bad games. It happens. They are not perfect every night.
And you only lost by 8.
Yeah, they only lost. They came back. They had a lead at one point. It was 79-78 in the third quarter. So they didn't give up.
That's the frustrating part with the Nuggets. I think they still need to establish within themselves as a team is you got to finish those games. It's a back and forth game. And I feel like there's been too many runs that in that situation, in that crunch time, go against the Nuggets. It's not them making the run. It's the other team making the run. And for the rest of the game, you're just going pretty much back and forth. But it's that one run set by, either team. First team to make that big run is going to win the game. And it seems like the Nuggets in these kind of situations, especially in those haunting and terrific third quarters that we just hope to get out of our system before, playoff time or later on in the season. But it has been a lot of those games where the Nuggets aren't the first team to make that big run, and it goes against them, and they end up losing.
Yeah, it's weird to think about it, though. The Nuggets actually won the second half. They outscored the Hawks both in the third and fourth quarter. Unfortunately, it just wasn't by enough. They outscored them 35-30 in the third and 28-27 in the fourth. But that doesn't matter when you give up a 17-point lead at halftime. So you can outscore them in the second half, but unless you outscore them by a lot and don't allow those runs, as you were saying, which is exactly what they did. In the fourth quarter, the Nuggets, like I said, they got to 79-78 at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. Then they were able to get it within 4 points in the late in the fourth, and then they let the Hawks go on an 18-9 run to end the game, and that's what ended it. So you're exactly right. It's all about the runs, and it's about stacking the runs. Like, you can't just have one big run in one quarter. Like, you got to have at least one decent run in every quarter to really make sure that you build and sustain a lead, because the other guys are going to get a run too. They're NBA players too. They're going to hit three-pointers. They're going to hit, they're going to get open shots. That's just how it works when you have the best playing against the best, even if it is technically one of the worst or in the lesser division or conference in this case. So
who the Hawks have out?
The Nuggets didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
Because DeJounte Murray went off. He had 34,
yes,
which would let all scorers, Jokic 24, Jamal 20. But outside of DeJounte, no one really scored really hefty. Well, the bench outscored our bench. That was
Yeah.
the difference maker right there.
All but two Hawks were in double digits. Out of every
Yeah.
Hawk that stepped on the court, only two, Bogdan Bogdanovic and Vit Krečki, I don't know how to say that name. Those are the only two guys that did not hit double digits.
He said, I don't know how to say that name.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's that? What is it? The Vit?
Vit Krečki, I think. Krejci. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, guy. But nobody said it on the. I watched the game 3 times. Nobody said his name, other than like that's
it
the
is
only
a
thing
trip.
Said was Vit.
It is a trip when you see guys. When you see guys like AJ Griffin, only 19 years old, born in 2003, going out there 24 points. Like that was you remember Jordan Poole was going off and everyone was like, well, who the hell is this guy? And that was the who the hell this guy moment. And it was very reminiscent in every bad way to see some random rookie kind of first year, second year guy go out there and just give it to the Nuggets.
Yeah, 11 for 16 from the field. Stupid.
Yeah, it was
stupid. That should not happen. And that's the real key to this game is the Nuggets didn't bring their defense. They brought offense. They scored points, but they just didn't defend well.
Yeah.
Especially in the first half. In the second half, they did better. Obviously, they won both quarters. But that first half was abysmal. They had no energy. They had no life. They weren't cutting. There was guys just kind of meandering around on the defensive end. It was kind of sad to see. It kind of seemed like they just gave everything they had at home and just had nothing once they landed in Atlanta. I don't want to give them excuses, but that's just the way it looked to me.
No, completely, especially with the team that's missing Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter. Who's the other one? You said 3. You said top 3. 3 of
the top
4
scorers. So Trae Young, John Collins, and DeAndre
John Collins. There we go. Yeah, John Collins. I can't believe I forgot John Collins. But Trae Young, he's not just a scorer; he's a facilitator. I know everyone's infatuated with his play because he's Steph Curry 2.0, but people don't realize that he has Chris Paul as one of his off-season mentors and someone he trains with. So you can see a lot of Chris Paul within Trae Young, which makes him so scary because he's a great facilitator. What makes great shooters better shooters is they're unselfish and they're not afraid to give up a shot and then pass the ball. So that's the type of player Trae Young is, very unselfish.
Chauncey Billups. That's who he reminds me of.
Really? That's great.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's Trae Young and Chauncey.
Really?
The way that they play the game. Like Trae's definitely a better scorer. He's going to put up bigger numbers than a Chauncey Billups, but just the way they play the game, that's who he reminds me of.
I don't think he had the defense Chauncey had. Chauncey was a little chiseled, Yeah. He was chiseled so he could guard people. Trae is like 110 pounds with the wet blanket on him,
Like he definitely can't match him defensively. I will give you that. But every other with his demeanor, the way he plays offensively, stuff like definitely Billups is the better defender. I will agree with you on that.
So answer me this. Who do you think weighs more, Trae Young or Bol?
That's a good question. And it's a 50-50. I'll say Trae. Honestly, I just think he's got more muscle mass because muscle.
Yeah, completely.
So let's test it out. All right, let's see. Trae. I'll look up Trae Young. You look up Bobo.
I looked up Bobo. All right, let's see. Bobo cannot be no more than 200 pounds.
Bro, I swear they got to be lying.
220. I don't know if I believe that.
I mean, they say Trae Young's 164.
Okay, that's kind of disrespectful.
I think that's got to be height. That's got to be height, and Bol's got to be thick bone. Like he's got to be big.
Yeah.
That's got to be a lot of weight from the skeleton, bro. I mean, he's got a huge skeleton, but there's nothing else there. It's just skin draped on skeleton for Bol. I'm sorry, but
How big was his dad? I think his dad was way skinnier than him.
Minute Bol. Let's see.
I'm trying to.
Where the hell? 20 pounds lighter, actually. 200.
Oh, that's worse because he's 5 inches taller.
7'7", 200. Yeah, I knew he was skinny, but dang. No.
Bro, I did not know that. I did not know. I thought he was at least.
That's insane.
Bro, I thought he was like
That's
250
insane.
at least.
Dude, my 12-year-old only like 70 pounds lighter than him. My 12-year-old was only like
crazy.
5'5", like 5'3".
Man, I wish like he was still alive. We could have one of those like celebrity boxing matches with like him and someone like freaking Rey Mysterio or something.
Rey Mysterio.
Manute Bol versus Rey Mysterio.
That'd be like one of those Asian fights you'd be seeing on YouTube where it's like the 500-pound man against the 200-pound dude.
Yeah. No, bro, that's
pro wrestler against the little guy.
That would make so much money.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to celebrity boxing? Like everything is like Jake Paul just kicking the crap out of these retired boxers. Before it was like a real. It was like a real thing. It was like, all right, we're gonna get some big bucks and some laughs out of this. Like, man.
Oh man, how long did that last? That could have been like maybe more than a couple of years.
Oh my gosh.
We're getting so far off track that I don't care.
I know. Where are we at, man? Let's get back.
It started in 2002.
You remember the game Celebrity Deathmatch?
Oh, what about the original Celebrity
on MTV
match? This just reminds no, not the cartoons. I'm talking about Muhammad Ali versus Lyle Alzado in Mile High Stadium. In the original Mile High. That was back in the 80s, bro. I forgot about that. I forgot Muhammad Ali went out there and fought a defensive end from the
I remember that. That was on the Lyle Alzado, the NFL Network Football Life.
Ali had a couple. I guess he also fought Dave Semenko. Danny Bonaducci and Donnie Osmond. I remember that one. That was a true boxing match. They hated each other.
That's what boxing matches are nowadays. They're just two guys that hate each other. Like, we need something for laughs. You know what I mean, or something that's like out of this world.
Manute Bol did get in one.
Who did he fight?
Versus William the Refrigerator Perry. That's exactly what we just said.
What? For real?
That was the sumo wrestler against the scrawny guy.
Let me see. I'm gonna look that up. Hold on.
I just pulled up a list of them, and it's
no way.
William the Refrigerator Perry. And on May 22nd, 2002, on Celebrity Boxing.
Oh my God! Look at the YouTube video. The quality of this.
It's so bad.
This is terrible.
So bad. To think, I was in high school when this happened. That's how old I am.
This is crazy, man. Look at the referee. Like, way smaller than both of them. Jesus.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking about William the Refrigerator Perry, who was like, they say he was like 350. There's no way he was below 450. I don't.
Yeah, they said 6'2", 335 for 7'7", 200 pounds. That's
boy's
crazy.
Not below 400. No way. And then Manute Bol with his 200-pound self. Literally less than half the weight of this man. Twice the height.
Yo, this is like a EA fight night. Remember that fight night? This is one of like the created leagues or whatever. So you look at the tail of the tape. Age 42 to 39. Height 7'7", 6'3". And then the reach is 102 to 88.
And Bol won. Bol won.
Did he? Did he? Because of that reach.
Yes, that's all it had to be. He just had to make sure he just kept him out there, bro.
Yeah.
He could have stood on one side of the ring and slapped him from the other side, dude. That dude's so stupid long.
Oh
That's insane. I can't believe that actually happened. I'm gonna have to go and watch that now. I know you're watching it now, but I'm gonna have to go watch it later. That's insane.
How did we get here?
I don't know, but I'm so glad we did, because now I have something to watch later on. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. I gotta see it now. We came up with the original idea. No, it just happened like 30 years ago.
Yeah, they've came up with this stuff. We're like 20 years late.
Yeah, we're like, hey, we should do this, and we look up. Oh, yeah, they did it 20 years ago. My bad.
Simpsons did it. The Simpsons did it. That's what it was.
Great. Yes.
Oh man.
That is so amazing. So, moving on from one freak of nature to the next. The Nuggets are taking on Zion Williamson and the Pelicans coming up tomorrow.
Who would his celebrity boxing match be?
Right? How do you think I could transition from celebrity boxing back to basketball? How'd you like that? I'm a pro. So Nuggets get Bones back versus Atlanta. Uncle Jeff is expected to play on Sunday. Does the jumbling of the lineup worry you, though?
Hold on, my bad. Yeah, say it again. I got to get it out of my, because I'm still thinking this.
I still got this visual going on.
Hold on, let me get a lemonade real quick.
Yo, let me do a spit take on my apple.
I don't know if I can show the brand of this lemonade, so I'm just going to tell you it's just lemonade.
We don't get paid for it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we can, but we just don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
I don't like free advertisement.
No free advertisement.
If you want to pay us, Mr. Lemonade person.
Be my guest. All right, that was a good laugh.
Happy to. Yes, it was. That was good time.
I
love that one. But I'll go ahead and start this up. As far as jumbling the lineups, it only worries me if it ends up taking Bruce Brown out of the starting. I know I keep hammering this, and I know you're all probably tired of hearing me say it, but I can't help it. I need more Bruce Brown. Like, they needed more cowbell on SNL. I need more BB. I need more downtown Bruce Brown, man. I need it. I got a fever, and the only cure is more downtown Bruce Brown. I can't help it. But other than that, it doesn't really worry me too much. I like the way that Coach Malone is able to go ahead and jumble this lineup around and still keep a consistent product out on the court. What about you?
Well, I love those underdogs, those, Mark Wahlberg, Invincible starring Mark Wahlberg type of players. And that's the player I see in Bruce Brown. Now, of course, he wasn't sleeping on his own apartment floor, but, he's not that I know of. I'm not going to knock anyone's humble beginnings. But
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't have it right in front of me, but coming from where he came from when he first came into the league, only shooting below 30% from three, himself even saying that, he was frustrated that teams, it seemed, teams gave up on him. They weren't giving him a deal that he thought he deserved, and especially in the time of his career, because he's, up for, if you want to make a living in this career or in this league for a long time, you want to at least get one of those big, mediocre-sized paychecks, 2 to 3 years, and that's all he wanted, and no one was willing to give it to him. They were trying to Ish Smith him pretty much, just year by year, and he thought he was more than that, and he's proving everyone that said he wasn't worth that money that he is. And to me, it's real reminiscent of Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant was in the same situation, and, I know he is on we're going to talk about him here soon, but if Bruce Brown keeps playing like this, he will be up for a big payday, cornerstone type of deal like Jeremy Grant found himself in.
Yes, I think that's a great comp to make of a guy and the path that he has taken in the NBA. Jeremy Grant's a great comp on what Bruce Brown is capable of and the type of ceiling that he can get to. But one of the bugaboos I've started to notice with this Nuggets team is they have a bit of an issue with a team that can shoot from deep. Zion, Ingram, and McCollum are a deadly trio. Do the Nuggets have the guys to match up?
They do. It's just all about execution. Why you brought KCP in? Because he was a guy who was, as to answer your question, do they have the guys to, bring the stuff? And that's why they signed the KCP. That's Bruce Brown, who, he's been mediocre. He's been average on defense at times. Now, when he's been knocking people down, he's been locking them down. He's been, above average, but, he's had his KCP moments where people have blown by him, or, a defensive breakdown has happened from time to time. So it's just all about execution, and it's just all about wanting it more and stopping the Pelicans from knocking down those long distance shots.
Yes, I agree. And to break it down even further, who can match up with who? Aaron Gordon and Zion Williamson is going to be a dog
that's
fight.
Going to be the best matchup of the night.
Bro, yes, that is the matchup I am waiting to watch. I cannot wait to watch and see what Aaron Gordon is able to do. If this is the ultimate test of what Gordon can do, and if he can even just contain, like, you're not going to stop Zion, especially the way that he's playing right now. But if you can contain him, that completely knocks off this Pelican squad. They go the way Zion goes. If you can frustrate him, you frustrate the Pelicans. So that's the number one matchup I'm looking for. The next up, like you said, KCP, Brandon Ingram. I like that matchup. I'm going to take KCP on a good night. If KCP's on a bad night, Ingram's going to school him. He's going to just make him look ridiculous. But if KCP's on, I believe he can match up with Brandon Ingram well. And then CJ McCollum, you got it. Bruce Brown all day. Give me Bruce, because Bruce is going to annoy the absolute hell out of CJ McCollum all night. Because unlike most of the people that McCollum is going to be matched up with, Bruce don't stop. Like I said earlier, he wakes up, he chooses violence every day. The man chooses violence at breakfast. He is angry at his eggs, I am convinced. You cannot give me otherwise.
I would switch that one. You know,
okay.
Just with KCP and Bruce Brown. No, I'd keep all the defenders. Exactly what I was thinking. Those are guys you want on top-notch scores, top scoring options. I would switch around KCP and Bruce Brown just because of the reason that KCP's defense has been worse than Brown's, and I want a more feisty defender. So far, I mean, KCP is as feisty as they come. He's just, I don't know what's going on. Like, no one can answer why his defense hasn't been to what he's shown in the past. But as of right now, the better defender playing is Bruce Brown going against a Brandon Ingram, who is a more aggressive scorer than CJ McCollum. And I'd rather have KCP out there as a pest running with McCollum off of those screens and, get a defensive personal foul for running over one of those screens if you need to prevent these guys from knocking down the shots that they've been so far this season.
Agreed. I 100% agree on that. So with that being said, I think we've got the right storylines to watch, the right matchups to watch. What are your predictions?
Is New Orleans is here, or are we there?
The Pelicans game, I believe, is in New Orleans. I'm pretty sure. I will double check.
Okay.
Now you got me guessing myself.
Because I haven't followed much of the Pelicans this year. I couldn't tell you where they're ranked. Oh my goodness! So this is a game to watch for sure, man. 14-8 versus 14-8. So that's
two very, very good teams. So it's in New Orleans tomorrow. It's an early game too for y'all. It's 1:30 p.m.
Yeah,
so I'll be ready.
Yeah. Shoot, and it's so funny, and it kind of I'm disappointed in myself not knowing that the Pelicans are way better than the majority of the teams in the Western Conference. Yeah, that it's only 3.5 or 4 games that actually separate the 11th seed from the first seed. So, the Western Conference is pretty tight right now. But with the Pelicans being 14-8, I mean, everyone knows that the Pelicans, I think, were the first team in NBA history last season to start, 3 and whatever. It was like 3-16, 3-14, and make the playoffs. So this team, obviously, whatever turning point they had last season to help them get a play-in and sneak their way into the playoff and still be one of the top teams in the Western Conference this season. This team, shoot, they're on the right track of rebuilding, and that Anthony Davis trade seems to be paying off.
Yes, I do agree. I think that Anthony Davis trade changed a franchise. It just didn't change the franchise everybody thought it would. Everybody expected multiple championships coming out of LA, but the Pelicans definitely got the better end of that stick. So I'm going to go with all that being said. I think the Nuggets are livid for the way that they played on Friday. I think this is going to be a revenge game. It's going to be close. I'm not going to sit here and say the Nuggets are going to go out here and blow out the Pelicans. That's just not going to happen. The Pelicans are too good, but I do think the Nuggets are able to edge this one out, and they're going to win it. It's going to be very close. I see it somewhere around about 120, 117 is my prediction. So
yeah, I'll go with Denver the same way. I don't know if it's going to go as high scoring, because when you have, your defense needs to be on point, and if the Nuggets want to win, that's what's going to have to be done, is the defense being on point. And if you're locking people down, you don't need to score as many points as much as you want to. I think the Nuggets are just going to keep it at a much slower pace. So it's going to be 105 to 98.
No, I am not mad at that prediction. I could definitely see a game where they kind of slow roll it and do their best to make sure they limit the amount of shots that the trio the Pelicans have can get off. So moving on from that trio into a battle of a former MVP and a potentially future MVP. Besides Luka and Joker, what do you look forward to in the Nuggets versus the Mavericks match? And this one's
Kemba Walker. He just signed with the Mavs, and I know it's not much of on the Nuggets side, on the home side, on the blue and gold, but the Mavs, I can respect that franchise. We were talking about Ish Smith being put in bad positions. The Mavs had a player like JJ Barea who was 5'10". He was a pest everywhere, and he was getting, big man buckets for a little man at the rim all the time. And I feel like if Ish Smith was in JJ Barea's position, being drafted by a team or undrafted in his situation by a team like the Mavericks, he would be probably a lifer for that team. You'd find a loyal franchise, but of course you find yourself stuck in rebuilding organizations and franchises before they actually take off. But
I just actually looked up Kemba Walker. There was a report from today that his left knee is still not good at all, and that he may be out until next week. So we may not, he's day to day, so we may see him on the court for the Mavericks, but they say it may be as much as a week, if not longer, before he acts. But that just happened a couple of hours ago. So
anything can happen. Yeah,
anything can happen, guys. This is why we try and stay as up to date as possible. But this is what happens when you're on live TV. Sometimes things happen after you write your stuff, and it's how it goes. Whatever. We'll move on. So besides that, does Dallas have enough offense to keep up with Denver at almost 100%? Really, the only guy left to come back is MPJ. So can the Mavericks keep up when they couldn't when those guys were out?
Well, the Mavs are they're even 11-11, but they've been 2-8 their last 10. So when you're playing a team that has an MVP caliber player and an MVP frontrunner and Luka Doncic, and your team is underperforming, they're looking to flip the switch anytime now, especially when they went 2-8 their last 10. Luka's pissed, the team's pissed, and especially there's not a lot of teams that are owned by a competitive owner such as Mark Cuban. So you can't tell me that Mark Cuban doesn't want to get things going, and hopefully the Nuggets don't fall up into that trap game, as we would say.
Yes, that's the one thing that worries me a little bit, is that the Mavs are a little bit beat up. Kemba Walker's most likely not going to be there, but the Nuggets are going to have all their guys back. It's my hope that it doesn't turn into Atlanta all over again in Ball Arena, even though they do seem to play at a different level in Ball Arena, so it's a little bit less likely, but it's still a chance. If they go out there tomorrow night, they give everything they got. It's a close win, last second shot, whatever the case may be. Those wins have a way of carrying over to the next game, and whoever won that game is typically the one without the energy, and the one that loses typically goes out and mollywops the next team that they run up against. It's a weird dichotomy in that, but it's just kind of how it happens. So I'm hopeful that the Nuggets don't allow that to happen, but there's always that chance. The Mavericks, though, are very, very top-heavy. If you can shut down Luka, that team falls dead. That's been the key. If you can contain Luka, keep him somewhere around 20, anywhere around there, this team struggles. If Luka is not out there hitting every shot, making ridiculous shots from half court or off his back foot, spin arounds, whatever, doing the stupid things that Luka does, this team struggles. And
the Mavs have gotten. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
The Mavs, they've gotten healthier. They were missing Tim Hardaway Jr. for the last year or so, and he's came back. So to put Luka into that position to play point guard, to play the one, to facilitate, to kick it to these guys on the wing. Yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie knocking down shots for the Mavs. I mean, the Mavs played the Knicks today, won 121 to 100. And the Mavericks were outscored 20-32. And if you cannot tell me that this is a perfect example that this team is pissed off, they were outscored 20-32 and ended up winning by 21 points. They had a 41-point quarter against the Knicks where they outscored the Knicks 41-15. So right now, the Nuggets, they better be having their A game coming in. They should circle this game coming up on the calendar this week because this is a pissed off Dallas Mavericks team, and this is the last thing you want is them coming in Ball Arena and spoiling the party.
Yes, they need to take Dallas as serious as they took them in Dallas without their stars, at home with their stars, because that's where you get in trouble. It's when you start disrespecting teams that they get angry like that, and they go out and they have MVPs do MVP type stuff. So, yes, definitely bring the respect, but also bring the stick. Like, you can respect your opponent, but you better beat your opponent at the same time. So, with that being said, predictions for Dallas versus Denver.
Oh, this is... I don't want to say I see a Nuggets L, but I want to be realistic. I don't want to be too biased. You know, I want to say what's true, but I don't want to make the audience mad, you know, by going against the Nuggets. But I'm going to be truthful.
Hey, man, be real. Be real. That's what we about.
I'm going to be real. And the Mavs are a team that they proved in New York today that they're ready to turn around their season, and they're much better of a team that they've been playing as, or what their record says that they are. And it proved today in New York. You know, it's going to be a heartbreaker. The Mavs already blew the Nuggets out by 28 a couple of weeks back when they had those back-to-back home and home, or whatever you want to call them. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but it's going to be, you know, the Mavericks know how to beat the Nuggets. The Nuggets know how to beat the Mavericks. They both played each other twice, a handful of times this season. So expect a good game, but I think in the end it's going to go the Mavericks' way, 110 to 105.
I could definitely understand your inclination to go that way. And this is one of the, I guess, the rare times at this point that we're going to deviate from each other. The Nuggets, they have this mentality most nights. Like, obviously they didn't have it against Atlanta, but most nights they have the mentality that they are the better team, and they bring it almost every night. And I do believe after the wake-up call of getting it handed to them by a bunch of also-rans in Atlanta is going to wake them up, and they're going to be able to carry that momentum from that close win against the Pelicans that I predicted and go ahead and win another one at home against Dallas. I do believe it'll be close. I believe it'll be low scoring, more around the lines of about 102 to 98, somewhere around there is what I see the score being. So if you're going to take the over-under, take the under on this game. I think that both teams are going to be out to prove something, and the biggest person, both literally and figuratively, to prove something is going to be Joker. He is going to want to put a stamp on this game because right now most pundits have him and Luka tied as in second place for MVP this year. So I think this is going to be a statement game for Joker. I think the Nuggets are going to make it a statement game for Joker. They are going to highlight him in this game, and I'm looking for another triple-double in that game for Joker. But
will this game be nationally televised this time? I know it's on Tuesday, isn't it?
I think it is. Yes, I think it is, but I will double-check.
Because if it's not televised on a Tuesday,
I mean, it should be, especially when you got two of the biggest names in the sport.
I
don't care what the records are. The records are irrelevant. We're talking about storylines. There's not much of a bigger storyline than Joker. Yes, TNT. They are going to be on TNT.
All right, for sure. So if you don't have altitude and you can't get a hold of it and you're tired of living in 1955 and having to listen to it on the radio, Kosminski's a great call, though. I have no disrespect to him, but we're in 2022. There should be no reason, unless you're Amish, much respect to you, but that you shouldn't be watching this on TV, you know? So it'll be on TNT. If you haven't watched or caught a lot of Nuggets games live, this would be a great opportunity. So shoot, go there, click on it, don't change the dial.
Agreed. And real quick before we get out of here, we don't really got much time to get into much depth, but the Nuggets will be able to finally avenge their ginormously embarrassing loss to the Blazers earlier in the season. Real quick, predictions for that game.
We don't got much time, so I'm gonna keep it quick. Nuggets, they're mad about that. Any team would be pissed off if they gave up that kind of lead and losing by that much by some Jordan Poole-like player like Anthony Simons, another who the hell is he? They're going to lock down Anthony Simons, and, we might see Jeremy Grant back here. He's been balling, averaging 22, like you said, but the Nuggets got to take care of business if they're going to want to show who they are, show that they're a contender and not a pretender. So it's going to be the Nuggets winning by 20 this time, 124 to 102. I just came in with it right now.
Hey, I'm good with it. Yeah. I agree, though. I do believe the Nuggets are looking for revenge. This is a conference foe. This is something that actually matters. Regardless of what their records are, it can matter later on in the season when it comes to the standings. So they are going to be ready for this one. It's not just some also-ran coming in. There's bad blood here. There's, connections, like you said, with Jeremy Grant. So I see this being a battle. I'm not so sure that it's going to be an absolute blowout, but it's going to be definitely a better game than it was the last time. This one I see ending at 118 to 105 is my prediction.
Okay, so I got more of an ass kicking going on over here.
Yeah, a little bit more of an ass kicking than I do. I'll give the Blazers a little bit more credit because they'll have, Lillard and Grant on the floor at the same time. So, and Simons, as long as he doesn't lose his freaking mind and go 90% from the floor in a quarter. Stupid, insane stuff. So, but that's our predictions. That's our show for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. We had a ball. We learned some new things. We hope you learned some new things. I'm going to go watch Manu Ball beat William the Refrigerator Perry. I don't know what y'all are going to do tonight. That's my night tonight.
Grab your popcorn.
Right, I'm grabbing the popcorn. I got it ready. We're going to have some fun on YouTube tonight. And really old, grainy video to boot. We're going to get nostalgic up in here. I'm going to remember my childhood. For the Nug Life podcast, I am your host, Dan Westheim. That's the co-host, Santiago Salazar. For the answer is 42. Don't question the blue.